opinions expressed on this program are those of the host or guest and should not be interpreted as statement of fact. Independent fact-checking and corrections are encouraged.
Can we get a cup of coffee in here, please?
I think I forgot the blue thing. It's probably too late, but I should probably do things. I don't know.
Damn good coffee.
I just don't know.
And hot.
Yeah, damn good coffee and hot.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Not really. Ass is best friend. You have ass cancer.
My dog is your mind's best friend.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs walking. That's
dog
right,
off for Labor
sunshine.
Day.
Just put on a big pot of strong coffee and get ready to type your little hate mail with your opinions about kumbaya and flat earth insanity. Stand-up comedy? You want stand-up comedy? Well, we've got sit-down comedy. It's time for Coffee with a Dog. You make me laugh.
I want to fire the band right now. Today's Don Sawyer, not Tom Sawyer. Today's Don Sawyer. Yeah, it's a little pun. How about that for a pun, huh? I'm on top of my puns. Rapunzel. Give me a pun. No. I don't know. Listen, I'm old now. So, older. And somewhat wiser. Not really. Good morning. I'm just rambling. I'm just saying stupid stuff.
Wake up, America. You've got a dog that needs...
Holy crap. Now I'm going to have to restart him from the top. I should let it play again, shouldn't I? It's a day off for you, so you're not even listening. You're not even up. You're sleeping. Good morning, folks. It is a new month, September 2nd, 2024. It's what we call Labor Day here in America. We celebrate the efforts of the labor movement by taking off. And so a lot of people aren't working today. Unfortunately, I am. But you know who's not? The news guys, our fake news guys, AI news guys get off for Labor Day. And I can't reckon that. Like, you're AI. You're not people. What do you need a day off for? It's not like you were actually doing anything. You were a bot. Anyway, it turns out the bots have more rights than the people on this program. If you don't know, here's the big news, because the news isn't here. I'm sure they would cover this story. The big asteroid is coming to hit Earth. This is no joke. You got time. I'm not going to be here, by the way. I'm checking out. I'm going wherever I'm going. Down. Doesn't matter. I'm not gonna feel the impact of the asteroid. The date set for the asteroid to hit Earth, and this is no joke. You can look this up. It's Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2046. So you got like 21 years. 21 years. Now, I won't be here. GD probably won't be here. Steven might be here. Ron, even money. But this program, will definitely be going on as the asteroid hits. So you could probably, ride the way out with no yucks, really. We're yuckless. Today we have an author scheduled for the second hour by the name of Don Sawyer. Today's Don Sawyer, Mean Pride, or whatever. It's a Rush song. I don't know. Our first guest for the first hour realized that her kids are off from school and said, no, I'm not dealing with kids. And trying to live stream at the same time. So she's rescheduled. So we have an hour to talk about nothing but asteroids hitting. Ron Kane is not here. Turns out he and the news guys, the news bots, had a lingerie party last night. A little pajama party, lingerie party. Drank a little too much. Something about polishing each other's balls or something. So not going to be here. So it's just going to be me and Steven and TC Helicon, which is really not even a person too. That's like an electronic device or something. So and TC Helicon has a new mic, so it's apropos, I guess. I don't know. I could send him a new rack mountable mic tweaker. I don't know what's called, mic tweaker. I don't know what anything's called. I had a interesting weekend that I'm not going to tell you about now. I'm going to tell you that our sponsors need love. There are links to our sponsors in the description wherever you are. And you should click on them and then buy shit. That's right. Because here's the thing about my weekend. I gigged my little fanny off, my little ass cancer ass. I gigged it off. And then I took all my money and had to deposit it in the bank to pay my bills. It's been 40 years since I've had to do that. Like, I came home with $8 from 4 gigs. $8. Well, that's not what but I should not complain. This is the thing. I woke up this morning thinking, I need to be grateful. Imagine if I were like you suckers who had to get up and go to a job every day. Man, I would have killed myself a long time ago. I'm not suggesting that you do that. I'm just saying what I would have done. And so I'm here, not working. It's a day off, but it's not a day off. I still have to get up and go all the way from where I live over there to over here. And I hope you're happy about it. I do it for you. Even if you're not working, I'm here in case you need to listen to somebody just rambling nonsense, I'm here for you, is what I'm saying. And if you don't, you should probably get high. Let's go to Puspatuk together. Now, Scott, I'm just going to continue rambling. Scott, who lives within the Puspatuk, and that we got to talk about this because it's not Puspatuk Indians either. Puspatuk is the reservation, but they're like Quetzalcoatl Indians or something. Quetzalcoatl. That's right. I'm way mispronouncing that. But I did some research on the tribe, and it turns out they've been a fake tribe for hundreds of years. Not like Shinnecock or Napacock or anything like that. Oop, what is this? What is? Oh, I just got an urgent message I gotta attend to. Anyway, it's time to. I'll talk about this when we meet whoever we're gonna meet today. That's nah. Just get high. That's all.
With humble East Coast beginnings in 2015, Daily High Club is the premier destination for glass water pipes, vaporizers, and consumption accessories. If you're looking to elevate your smoking game to the next level, you're in the right place. With over 1 million top-quality smoking products sold, and with a growing base of over 10,000 monthly subscribers worldwide, we deliver the ultimate smoking experience. But Daily High Club is not just a retailer, we're lovers of the smoking scene ourselves, working with giants like Tommy Chong, Snoop Dogg, Chanel West Coast, and more. Ready to join the Daily High Club? Let our experts curate your collection with our awesome El Primo monthly subscription box, or grab one of our fun and unique pieces from our smoke shop. Click the link in the description below this video to get this party started now.
Oh, wait, I took them out? I should have put them in. Why didn't I put them in?
Good morning.
What we have for the people on the radio who can't see this disgusting presentation we have up in my left-hand corner, we have this bald-ass wannabe trying to be me, Stephen with the comment views. And then we have back to the red, Mr. TC Helicon, who he was not, he was unread, but now he's
Why?
like, you know what? He's like a newspaper. He's black and white and red all over.
That's a newspaper.
I'll fix it later. Damn, I did have it right. I just had to move a light because it was reflecting off of something.
That mic sounds funny. It sounds like, I don't know. Did you go to a lingerie party with the AI bots and
I
Ron
didn't change anything. So what happened? What's going on? How's it sound? Is it too hot? Too low?
No, it sounds like you
muffled.
went to it sounds like you went to a lingerie party with bots and Ron Kane, and you were on the bottom.
Is this different?
That's better.
Better.
A little better.
It's okay, but it still sounds like you're on the bottom.
Oh, that's fine. I just want to know. I just don't want to. Look, I know audio is very important, especially to people who can't see my gorgeous face. And so, how does it sound to you guys?
Now you're quiet.
You're very quiet. Yeah.
Is this any better?
I would just turn it on to 11. Just crank it up.
It doesn't have
distortion pedal.
It has thin and fat. That's it.
Hold on.
I can make it.
Oh, I'd go with fat. Go with fat. Don't you have fat?
This is fat. This is real fat.
That's better.
Okay.
Right. A little better.
You can't just turn the volume up there on your little thing, though.
But that's what this is. The fat and thin is for volume.
You know what? I can turn you up here. Hold on. You just sit tight. Watch me work my magical turn you up.
Okay, fine.
What did you change in the like 4 minutes?
Honestly, the only thing maybe I changed my ass.
I just made you louder. Now you're nice and loud. You're a loud red man.
I'm too loud for myself because I can't take this. This is really loud in my ear. Can I turn myself down and you turn me back up? If I'm not blowing up my own eardrums, how's this?
All right.
I just turned it down so I'm not killing myself.
You have headphones in?
Why do you insist?
Yeah, I also have headphones. Otherwise, I can't hear you guys.
Why do you insist on bringing technical problems to my program on a beautiful Labor Day, Monday, September, back to school, want to kill yourself time of year?
Well, first of all, good morning, America.
Oh.
MindDogTV.com. Did you lose your whole weekend dealing with software and computer shit? Well, suffer no more. You come to MindDogTV.com for all of your hardware, software, apps, dapps, crap needs. Purchase the technical expertise from MindDogTV.com.
It doesn't matter what you purchase. Just purchase something.
That's right. MindDogTV.com. We'll sell anything. We're mercenaries.
Yes. I'm trying to look up what these quizzy quassels. No wonder the girl didn't know how to pronounce it because it has nothing. It doesn't have a P in it. Anyway, and I got a P. Anyway, oh, Puspatuk from Costa Rica. I'll look it up later. I'm just confused.
This is false advertising. Clearly, we have the best viewers. I thank you.
Wait, that's not no more's gap. No more's gap. All right, that's a tribe I have not heard of before today. I don't think we like them. How are you? How was your weekend? Did you get paid more than $8? Did you bring home more than $8 for your efforts on Labor Day weekend?
I did.
All right, so you're better than me.
That's because my Social Security came in early.
You think you're better than me? Why would that happen? It's always the last Wednesday, so you should have got it on the 28th or something, 27th.
No, I get mine on the 3rd of the month normally.
Huh?
I think you get I don't know. Maybe it's depending on what area you live in. Otherwise, that way don't have to keep sending money out to everybody all over the country at once. I don't know.
I thought it was the last Wednesday of the week. It is for everybody else I know, no matter what part of the country they're in. The last Wednesday of the month.
I get mine the 3rd, unless the 3rd falls on a Saturday, then it comes early.
Huh.
Yep.
Wow. All right. That's the show for you, folks. Thanks for tuning in. If you want to know more about Social Security, tune in next week or after you're 65. Now, are you guys concerned at all? And Stephen, you should be concerned about this asteroid It's about it's in your future. The
Well,
GD will be dead, but
this is assuming that the asteroid in 2029 doesn't kill us first, which is supposed to come close enough to go underneath satellite orbit, about 18,000 miles from Earth. So, assuming that one doesn't kill us, then I'll worry about the one in 2049.
that one's not gonna. That has like a 1 in like a million chance of actually hitting Earth. The 2020.
The thing is, it doesn't
Last I
have to
heard
hit
it-
Earth to kill us. All it has to do is hit one of the GPS satellites or one of the phone satellites.
The one,
We kill ourselves.
the one for Valentine's Day 2046 is gonna hit Earth. There's no unless they come up with Ben Affleck and Bruce Willis diverting the asteroid. It's gonna hit Earth, and
Well,
you'll be here for it.
can't we just send the right stuff up and let them just tickle the asteroid until it goes?
What I meant.
Just
Ben
just
Affleck.
send the men with the right stuff and let them go. Woo-hoo.
Those are asteroids, not asteroids. That's different.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh shit!
Mos-
Ian said the same
Moscow
shit.
is on fire today. Do you
I'll
know
give
that?
that credit on that one.
who now?
This could be trouble. Seriously, a oil refinery blocks away from whatever that is. The in Moscow.
Hotel?
What is that thing? The Kremlin.
Okay.
The Kremlin. Ukraine has bombed an oil refinery, and they're closing in on Moscow. They've closed down. They've shut off power to Moscow. So, while I'm rooting for Ukraine,
Yeah.
that could, it could trigger old Vlad there to push a nuke button. So, it could be the last Labor Day you'll ever see. How do you feel about that?
They don't celebrate
I
Labor Day,
mean-
so it shouldn't matter.
No. The last Labor Day you'll ever see. I mean, as far as World War III starting, end of the world, boom, everything.
I mean, I view it a lot like the asteroid. I see it as very little we can do. So,
Really?
oops. I mean, what am I? What is freaking out gonna do about it? I can either have a baby
Everything.
fucking cow and throw a fit while
You-
the asteroid comes or the nukes fall,
You
or
totally
I
don't.
can get
You totally don't get the point. You could take your entire late Social Security check and go buy a bunch of white weed and get so fucked up that you don't even
Yeah.
notice the world ending. Or you can max out your credit cards or whatever you do. You can go get crack and hookers. You could do things are not out of your control. You can.
Oh
You can
yeah,
see-
I mean, I'm gonna go out in style. I always said if I came down with something terminal, 0% chance to live, and I'm right on the end, I'm stealing the fastest car I can find, and I'm going out having fun.
You're setting your sights way too low. Way too low. What is this? What is this? I'm trying to find out the actual name of the Poospatucks. I had it.
Well,
Quetzalcoatl?
GD, what would you
That
do? If
sounded
you
close.
guy?
Did you
I'm
just
sorry?
guess that? Did you just guess that name?
No, it's a name that's from I think the Mayans, South American.
Oh, there's a
um,
Quetzalcoatl.
yeah, he was actually. I think that was actually one of the. I think he's like
Kings?
some kind of a savior.
Yeah, he was like a bird. He's like a
Oh,
bird man.
bird.
He was like their Jesus, I think, or their Vishnu.
Huh.
Was,
Well,
was
I
he
guess
white
that's-
also?
Oh,
No, Vishnu wasn't white, and neither
all
was
right.
Quetzalcoatl.
I had it totally wrong. There's no Q in the word. It's Unkachagi. Unkachagi.
Damn. Okay, I'm never going to try to correct anything that you say again until you tell me what you're trying to say, because
Yeah.
you are
It's-
so
Unkachagi.
You make-
Unkachaugi. The
listening to you
Ukachangi
makes
man.
us all dumber.
Yeah.
That was painful.
All right.
We get all dumber listening to you until after we
I thought
fact
this-
checked you.
I thought this
No.
was the last coffee with the dog, and he was having a stroke. Like, what?
Yeah. That happens. There
Uncle
was
Joby. Okay.
no. Unca Choggy. Like Uncle
Sorry.
Choggy.
This is what we're
Uncle
all hearing
Jogi.
right here.
Uncle
This is what we're
Jogi.
all
Listen,
hearing.
look at Ian. He's all over the place. He's twitching right now. He's twitching on asteroids, cooking some barbecue
The white
killer.
asteroids.
Yeah. So, GD, let's talk race, man. Are you one of the smart ones?
Sure.
Whoa, you
It all
can't
depends.
ask it like that, Matt.
Are you going by my
Whoa.
IQ, or my processing speed is supposed to be very
I
good, but then again,
I just want to know: are you one of the smart ones? Oh, and are you one of the honest ones? Are you one of the good ones?
it
Oh
depends
my
on who you ask.
god.
According to the Republicans from when I was a kid, the ones that tried to recruit me into their party, I was one of the good ones.
All right.
Can't ask
You know what
that.
I'm
They told
referring
me.
to, right?
They told me.
Stephen clearly doesn't, because he's not one of the smart ones. He's one
Yeah,
of the
Okay,
other.
well then don't be blacks because I'm not that for sure. So
when the Republicans was trying to recruit me when I was younger, they came out and just told me that I was one of the good ones. I wasn't like the others.
Oh,
Yeah,
they lied to
they
you.
told me that's why they wanted me in their party,
okay.
and that's why I can see why some of those black people joined the Republican Party, because they came in and the Republicans recruited them, saying, "Hey, look, you're special." And they're like, "I want to be special. I'll join your party."
You're one of the
Just,
smart ones. That's what they would
yeah.
say. Yeah,
And
I
it's
can
the
tell
same,
you're one of the
and
smart.
that's exactly what happened to the Negro Leagues. They took the best Negroes out of the Negro League and they made them black, and they put them they made
They
them
made
turn.
them black.
They made them turn. I'm sorry, they made them turn from Negro to colored, and they put them in the major leagues.
All right.
That's why the Negro Leagues faltered, because they took all the best and brightest of the blacks out of the Negro Leagues and they put them in the colored leagues in the majors.
on behalf of white people, our bad.
Yeah.
And look,
So
you did what you did.
Donald Trump said of Byron Donalds, he's one of the smart ones. They have so many that are so many that not smart, but he's one of the smart ones. And it's like, somebody said, well, why don't you just say the N-word? You want to say the N-word? Just say it. Come on.
So
Just
Donald
say
Trump
it. Get
said
it
what
over.
I thought you were saying.
Now, here's the problem with calling Donald Byron one of the smart ones. He's not. And even if he were one of the smart ones, he's definitely not one of the scruples. He has no scruples.
I
I'll
know.
sit there and watch that man lie through his fucking teeth just to justify anything he says about Donald Trump.
Let me just say, I don't think he's lying. I think you're right. I think you were right the first time. He's one of the stupid ones. I don't think he's lying. I think he believes the shit he says.
No, some of the stuff I've watched him in live interviews, and you see his face contort when he has to say something that he knows is not true. When he's actually faced with facts that contradict what he's about to say, his face contorts. Like Dick Cheney. When he was contorting the truth, he'd do this. He'd tilt his head and go,
You mean Dick Cheney, the
former vice president, the former president
the
behind
flaming left wing radical, Dick Cheney.
Yeah, that Dick Cheney. Yeah, he would tilt his head and squeeze it against his neck when he was. The more he contorted the truth, the more he squeezed his head against his shoulder.
Well, this is how you know how uninformed some people are, because at some point during the Trump administration, Dick Cheney got labeled as a flaming left-wing radical.
Yeah.
And people who are uninformed just accepted that. But anybody who was around from like 1980 onward and like adult and paying attention, that's like, it will cause spasms just saying that.
Right.
But people don't know any different. So yeah, Dick Cheney and his daughter Dickette, or she
the straight one.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that the straight one is named Liz, but the gay one isn't? You think that the lesbian would be the gay one?
Be clear, GD is not one of the smart ones. I thought he was one of the smart ones until that moment.
I'm just saying, you think his gay daughter would be the one he called Liz, and the other one he called, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Jeff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Dick Jr.
So yeah, So, did you pay attention? Because I know you are a political junkie. You actually shoot up politics. You get up first thing you do, you tie yourself off, and you pump like politics. Into
Wait,
your
who
head.
does? Me or the not smart one?
The not smart one. I know you're afraid of politics because you don't
I'm
want
not
people finding out that you are a libertarian, borderline anarchist, and you kind of shy away from having that put out there.
That's not.
But
First of all, I'm not shy about it, and also, I don't shy away from politics. In fact, I watch too much of it, and it honestly pisses me off. Also, Matt, live and let Liz.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. Oh no, Matt didn't type that. I got my keyboards mixed up. I have
Yeah.
too many fucking keyboards.
yeah,
Matt did not write that. I wrote that, but I did it on the wrong keyboard.
somewhere along the line, they're probably around November 4th, the day before election day. Somebody's going to go dig through all these things that I did not say that somebody else said, and they will use them against me, and that will be the reason I lose bigly, hugely, or however.
Your virginity.
I'm just gonna go in there and start typing like "gay is bad, black is whack, white is right," all under
Right.
Matt's name, just to
Yeah. So, but there was some, Sunday morning stuff going on, Sunday evening stuff going on, some crazy things.
Are you talking about the Church of Last Resort?
Oh no, so that was.
He said crazy.
You know
not
what?
Boring.
I was driving to my gig yesterday trying to remember what the fucking Church of Last Resort was about. I remember Gina Rollins. I remember John Cassavetes and Nick Cassavetes. But if you ask me what the sermon was or the point of the program was.
It was Labor Day. It was about Labor Day.
Oh, that's right.
Remember it was something about the babies
Not
being
real
born?
Labor Day. The
real Labor Day. About babies being born. That's the real labor.
All right. I forgot about that. But I did want to say that you can't talk about John Cassavetes like Gina Rollins. Who cares? Nobody cares about Gina Rollins. Just look at Steven. I said Gina Rollins and he left. He's like, I don't care about that.
I had
You just said Gina Rollins and Ron decided not to even show up.
Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about Nick Cassavetes. But if you're going to talk about John Cassavetes, you have to talk about two things.
He was sleeping with the talent.
No.
He was sleeping with Gina.
That's not what you have to talk about him.
Okay,
the only two things.
I'm just saying that he was sleeping with Gina Rollins, and that's.
But we don't have to talk about that.
Okay.
You have to talk about two things.
Epstein's Island.
We don't have to talk about that.
Okay.
We have to talk about the Dirty Dozen.
Okay.
And Columbo.
She wasn't in it though. I said Dirty Dozen and
Columbo.
GD's not red anymore.
I know, but if you look, I disappear now because I fixed that. The lighting. I have an option. I can either have all of my body when I move, or I can be a little red. And I'd rather, like my face. Look at my face. My face is. I feel like one of those Bill Cosby bits.
Don't ever make me look at your face.
I can't feel my face. I can't feel my face.
Don't ever make me look at your face again. That's
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw everything off. I just noticed he wasn't red anymore, and I got really excited.
No, the red is a choice because it's either I'm red or I can have all of my. See now, if I do this, see it's there. My whole face is there. I do this, I lose. Look at my face is gone.
Nobody notices. I'd rather that than red. The red is distracting for some reason. It's just distracting. Anyway, we don't have to talk about John Cassavetes now. I'm just saying if you're going to talk about him, you have to talk about those two things, and that's all you have to talk about. You're not allowed to talk about anything else.
Okay.
All right.
So we're not going to address the fact that Harvey Weinstein got in trouble for sleeping with the talent, but he can sleep with Gina Rollins, and
he married her, didn't he? Marry her? That's not
the point. You're missing the point. You're missing the point.
You can have consensual sex with the talent. You can't blackmail him into giving you a blowjob to get the part.
We don't know that he didn't.
We do know that.
We don't know that he didn't blackmail her. We don't know. We don't. No. We were just assuming because they were married But he
No,
didn't do
I'm not
anything.
assuming because Mike Douglas addressed that with Gina Rollins in like 1980.
Is this the same? Is this on the same footage with the move that pussy and I'll rub your cat or something? Move
Huh?
that cat and I'll rub your pussy.
No, no,
Yeah,
that was Johnny
wow.
Carson, not Mike Douglas.
I'm gonna say, is it on the same blooper reel?
No,
Okay.
no, they jokingly talked about her relationship with, and they brought up the idea of a casting couch, and she said she was the one who seduced him. That's what she said.
They always say that it's a power thing. Yeah.
I don't think Harvey Weinstein's victims, we can call them victims, I don't think a single one of them is saying that.
Well, not now. Back then, it was a power move.
No,
I'm telling you.
no, you're
You can
wrong.
check,
Just
check the
admit, you
footage.
can admit you're wrong. Once
No,
you're allowed to do that.
I've never been wrong. I thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken.
You're wrong now.
All right. So, coming back to what I was talking about, which is really what's important. Nobody wants to hear what you think.
Thank God, because I wasn't thinking at all.
We know.
Donald Trump, first of all, admitted on the air with Mark Levin that he interfered with the election in 2020, and that he thinks he has every right to do that. He can't believe that. Whoever heard that you could get indicted for what did I say? Intervening or election interference. You can get
Right.
indicted for election interference, which you have every right to do. That's what he said.
Okay.
So
Fucking what?
Yeah. Right.
What? Fucking more. God. Who?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much written into the Constitution conversation. Constitution that the president has a right to interfere and create election interference. 'Cause he has every right to do that. I think that's
He also has the right to receive oral gratification from interns, as long as they wear a beret when they're doing it.
As long as all of these were our official presidential decrees, he can do what he wants.
As long as it was the official presidential steel rod.
He also, for the first time, admitted that he lost. He said he lost by a whisker. He lost by 10 million votes, but he finally admitted that he lost. This is, and now people are saying this is like huge breaking news. Like nobody fucking cares anymore.
Right.
But so at least you get to the idea that he's admitting that he did it, but he's still going to retaliate against Jack Smith if he gets elected again. That's
All right.
The other.
How? At what point does he just have to get like a big crayon and a piece of paper and just put "future dictator" and just
No. You
hang
leave the
that flag?
tater off. You leave the taters out of this. Leave the carbs out. He's just a dick.
Oh, well, I'm just saying. I mean, the dude just blatantly touts. Yo, of course I did election interference. Of course I'll challenge it again. Of course I don't think we should follow the Constitution. Fucking.
To your question though, about him being a dictator, forget the name of those.
Not just a dick. You don't need to embarrass the carbs in this. Leave the taters out of this.
All right,
I thought you were going to embarrass the
that
Irish.
joke got old. That joke got old 3 minutes ago.
It's not a joke. I'm
Yeah,
serious. Defend
right.
the potatoes.
All right. What the hell is the name of that group that goes out there and they interview all these people at Trump rallies?
NAMBLA?
Anyway, NAMBLA, yeah.
Moms for Liberty.
It'll come to me, whatever the name of the group is. But they went out there and they said, "Did you hear?" They were asking Trump supporters, "Did you hear that Donald Trump said he wants to be dictator on day one?" And they all liked that. They said, "That's great. That's what I hate to say it, but that's what America needs right now. We need a dictator." So for him to, if he did that, they would celebrate. The cult would be far more, if it's even possible, loyal to him if he came out and said, "Yes, I am a dictator."
Now, I don't know if you remember this, but George Bush II, W, once said something like, he's all for being a dictator as long as he's the dictator, or something to that effect.
I don't
Remember when he
know.
said that?
I don't remember what he said that, but I don't take the kind of drugs you take.
Isn't like Venezuela like a good example of what we don't want, right?
Yeah.
And what last night my wife and I were laying in bed going through TikTok and we're
Hey,
seeing
hey, hey, hey,
videos
hey!
of
We don't want to hear
no
about you and your wife doing TikTok stuff.
no. There was
Are you going
videos
to send us a link to that too?
yes
God damn.
of there's videos of people watching the news of the election that Venezuela just had of the guy that was just, elected and like watching these people break down knowing that like their world is ending. Like because it's like it's bad and we're all just
Yeah,
inviting it. We're inviting it and it makes
and
no sense. We have history books that tell you how this shit plays out and how it ends every fucking time. And everyone's just like, sure, let's try it. It'll be different because it's USA. If USA
Here's
is so
the
good, why do we make USBs? Huh?
here's the George W. Bush quote. If this were a dictatorship, it would be a heck of a lot easier as long as I'm the dictator.
okay, that's it. It's been a while since I've heard him say it, so but I was pretty close.
I didn't even remember him saying that. Who did he say that to?
It was a
Who-
press conference, I think.
Yeah, but it
Wow.
was after 9/11, so he was just given the pass.
It was a
Wow.
press conference, but I think it was during an interview. It wasn't like one of his speeches. Like he actually had a speech that he made from he was addressing Congress, and he said he was talking about the war in Iraq and the people that advise him, and he said there are people that tell me that the people in Iraq cannot govern themselves because they do not look like us Americans, and I reject that. Now, the fact that he had people telling him that, who would be telling him that? That would be his advisors, okay? It's not like the average person gets to walk up to the president and give him advice. He's being advised by his advisors, and they're telling him the Iraqis cannot govern themselves because they're not the same color. They don't look like us Americans. Okay, at least George Bush had the decency to say, I reject that. But the sheer fact that his advisors, that's the advice they're giving him. And he said it twice live on live television. You can't find those comments on the internet right now. They took them off the internet years ago.
That's all I got to say about that. Because Middle Eastern people, I
They're
don't
not
know
the same color as us Americans.
what. Well, some of us Americans are the same color as the
No, I'm
smart
just saying
ones.
that
The
those
smart
those
Americans.
those
There's,
were Bush's advisors telling him.
I know, but I'm just thinking they are the same color as the smart Americans. They're
The
kind
good
of
ones.
they're kind of
good ones.
almost the same. They're sort of the same color as the superior race, right?
You know,
Okay, listen, there's two different types of
Donald Trump.
skinheads in this world. There's that one
Donald-
down there.
Donald
This
Trump
one.
also said that I'm trying to think that the big black guy, the big fat black guy running for governor in North Carolina, I can't remember his name now, but I'm going to call him that because I don't even
That
care what his
black
name
guy,
is.
I like that.
Yeah,
Big fat
Donald
black guy.
Trump said that he's the next Martin Luther King. This is the guy that says some people just need to be shot. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Some people just need to be shot. He said that in a church to a church.
Right. Well, he was a pastor, right, or something. No,
I don't know what he is. I think he's too large to be a pastor. He needs to be pasteurized. He's like he needs to be cut down so that he fit into. He needs to be fit into like the Reverend. You look at the Reverend. The Reverend's the right size to be a pastor because he can fit on the screen. You don't have to zoom out to get him on the whole screen. This guy, you have to zoom out 40, 50, 60 feet to fit his whole fat ass on the camera. Otherwise, you're not going to see him. He's not pastor sized. He's too big.
Can you not do this hand gesture while you're referring to people? Because it's not okay. And frankly, I need a towel now. So back to you, Matt.
I did that in a restaurant once when
Oh my God, what?
it was me and Davey Do. I forget. I was telling him about.
Were you being served cream of some young guy?
No, I was not.
Was it a beat it platter?
No, Davey had just ordered a fish taco, and that made me talk about something rude and crude. And I was talking about somebody
bearded clam chowder.
walking in on a friend who was beating on his wife had a habit of walking in on people when they were jerking off. It's like
Wait, how many people go jerking off in the presence of his wife that she could walk
Well,
In the house?
in the same house, in the same building, or in a car or something. She would catch. Her thing was she caught like 20 guys on different occasions. Walked in on them and they were jerking. And I was telling Davey, she walks in and the guy's full like this, and he goes, "Dog, you don't want to do that in a restaurant. There are people like."
Just tell him you're dancing. Just tell him you're dancing.
Yeah, the point I'm making, I guess, is that you can forget that there are people around. You're telling a story, and all of a sudden you do it. And he's like, maybe you don't want to make that gesture here. So I don't know.
Growing up, that was the gesture you made when somebody was just talking too much. You're just like,
rolling yeah, that whole thing where there was like a joke or something. I don't know if it was a joke. It was a girl was like, imagine that I'm putting a pair of dice in your hands. Now hold them in your hands. Now blow on them. Now shake them up. Has a and
that's terrible advice. That's about as bad as a hawk to a girl.
Perry Kurtz had a routine where he'd have a woman come up on stage. Now he put his hands in his pocket, and the woman had to put her arms between his arms, so it looked like her arms were doing the talking. And she had to do her hands in whatever he was describing. So
wow.
he could say, now pick up the dice. Now blow on them. Now shake them up for me. Yeah,
that wasn't his. But
but I'm not. He could do that with his routine. He would like tell.
That's the bit, but that's like a Jackie thing. That's kind of been handed down for generations. That's like a grandfather's joke about
I do it so much I consider it a handicap.
No, I've never seen Perry Kurtz do that. I'm just saying he could do that with that routine. Well, he's dead now; he can't do anything. But before he died, he could have done it.
I could have done it after he died.
Well, yeah, it's true. He could just put his arms to his side and then have somebody put their arms between his arms like this. But then he wouldn't be able to mouth the words.
I just have to say, Ron Kane comedy is watching on Instagram right now. Is somebody hijacking his or he's just too weak and hungover or abused from the lingerie?
This is just a guess. I'm just assuming that he and his wife are role playing. They're doing the BDSM thing, and he's bent over, tied up right now. She's making him watch it on Instagram as punishment. He's like, "Watch it. You can't talk. You have to watch. You can't contribute. You're a bad Ron. Bad Ron." That's what I think.
Well, hold on. I'm gonna put a B on that because I need that for my life, and then also, maybe the lingerie convention carried over to the ball buffing, which is when he sent us a picture of his balls, and maybe he's just real tired and he can't use his arms now.
Yeah, you guys need to get some gigs on the weekends, man, because the texting is just.
I had a gig.
Learning what an EPK is now.
I was setting up a new computer, which I'm still doing.
I'm working on making an EPK now. My computer's not great, so I'm trying, but I'm getting it done. And
EPK. Well, you got to get some content. You got to get some real quality content. That means
I know I'm getting a camera too.
Professional audio, all that kind of stuff.
Is this the enlarged penis kit you're talking about? That EPK?
No. I have some wireless mics coming, and then a camera that is Bluetooth compatible, so I can connect the mics to it.
Wow, you have that coming. That's the first thing you ever made coming. What is it? Remember when George W. Bush said, "Great people on both sides"? No, I don't remember George W. Bush saying there's great people on both sides.
Well, yeah, I think he said it, and then Trump downgraded it because he didn't want to quote him directly, and then that's when Trump says there are good people on both sides. So
I like when W started sounding like a superhero. We're gonna get those evil doers.
Well, was W talking about Nazis? Because that's the thing. Trump was talking about Nazis, and no matter what however you try to spin this thing, There were
That's right.
Nazis marching with signs saying the Jews will not replace us, and that was the majority of the people in on one side in Charlottesville. It's not like, and even if somehow somebody who's not a Nazi stumbled into that line, it doesn't take long to figure out, wait a minute, I'm standing next to a bunch of Nazis. Let me get out of this fucking line. There's no excuse for being on this. There used to be in America a very clear line of Nazis were bad. And if I'm standing next to a Nazi, I'm standing in the wrong place. I got to get out of here.
Well, that was clear in like the public life, but in the government sector, they were letting Nazis in and
talking
letting them
about
in.
paperclip, but
Yeah,
those were useful Nazis using them.
they were the good ones.
No, they were the smart ones. No, they were the smart ones. They were the smart ones. But they weren't protesting Nazi causes, and you weren't standing next to a guy wearing a swastika with holding a sign that says the Jews will not replace us. That's the difference. I mean, these were active Nazis working on a Nazi cause. No mistake that this was the Fourth Reich rally. So, and that's when Trump said there were good and bad people on both sides. No, anybody who was on the side of the Jews will not replace us marching with swastika people, those were not good people. They were, unless they were completely retarded and couldn't read the signs and don't know what the significance of a swastika. They were not good people. They were all bad people on that side, 100%. So I was looking for, because we had no news today, and I was desperately looking for some content that I could like fill in that news spot on my own YouTube channel. And I was reminded of the time I had the world's greatest comedian on the program. Were you guys aware that I had the world's greatest comedian?
I remember the
That's
day
how
I
you
came
got.
on this
That's how you
show.
recruited me. That's how you recruited me to be on the show.
Wow,
That's
we got
regular.
some big heads.
No,
We're both
I'm
big
talking
heads.
about the greatest comedian who ever lived.
Will?
No, much bigger than that. You guys are thinking small time. I'm thinking the greatest, the guy who invented comedy, really, the
Ron
icon.
Kane. Ron Kane.
Ron Kane.
I will no. You're
Ron
not even
3
close.
Kane's production.
You're just not even close. Let me explain to you who Sam Ha is. Sam Ha is the greatest comedian who ever lived here.
The stuff I have, and also I have a puppies with me. His name is Tommy. He's a real person. He can talk, but at the time he want to talk, Tommy, please just say hi to the people. Yeah, Tommy is very good and nice person. He's a migrant also. His real name is not Tommy.
Why are we watching this?
I want you to learn from the greatest comedian who ever lived.
He's angry, but he don't want to say something.
Less teddy bears?
Okay. All right, I'll be back
His
later.
name is not Tommy. His name is Jung. He moved from China.
He can't. He's refusing to learn. See, this is what I mean by being uncoachable. He can't learn great comedy. Influenced by some of the insanity he did. Now he got himself in trouble by being too committed to the bit. Sometimes, like wrestling women and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good with that.
You're not? Are you wrestling women? No.
Yeah, if they let me, I am good with that. I like it.
Okay.
I'm self-correcting.
No, you're not. You're self-ejecting.
No, I was self-correcting.
You're self-ejecting.
Ew. Not on the air, guys.
So that Sam Ha, the greatest comedian who ever lived.
Okay.
Apparently he is wrestling women. I did not know about that.
Okay.
But yeah, he does this
He's
thing
wrestling women.
Yeah,
could be worse. He could be the greatest comedian that ever lived
Who
in
is
the
he?
wrestling
Andy
gear.
Kaufman's
Well, were you not listening? I just said where Andy Kaufman stayed too committed to the bit with wrestling women, and he said, I said, why? Are you wrestling women? He said, yes. Did you not?
I heard it. I was just.
But the core of his act is taking stuffed animals and making believe they talk.
Okay.
So that, and he's getting paid. This is the part why I wanted to fucking rub it in your face. He gets paid to do that.
Okay.
While you guys,
This feels two steps
while
up.
you guys sit home on the weekends and text annoying things to me while I'm on a gig, that guy's out getting paid with his little panda.
You realize I wasn't part of that thread, right? That was Matt and not Matt. Who's Matt? You're Matt. That was Ron and Stevie texting each other.
As far as I'm concerned, the whole lot of you are just doing this all day long. No, you are. The better than Maine Poopy is a GF. This is what you said about Steven's picture where he's trying to be me with the bald head and the round glasses. So and then you
mine Poopy.
And then you texted like 4 smiley faces at it. So no, don't try to dismiss yourself as you're not part of it.
No. Here's the deal. I was using my phone for a different purpose, and every time y'all would text, it would pop up and blot out what I'm trying to do. So yes, once in a while I did get angry, and I did was like because I was trying to use my phone for something. I couldn't put it in airplane mode, and so yes, every time they were texting, it was like interrupting my screen. And when I say them, because it was you also, because you were making threats to them.
They're not threats. They're promises.
I could be 10 minutes from getting ready to record a Netflix special. If I come across something stupid, it's coming into your inbox. Okay? That's my generation. Okay?
No.
That being said, I do need weekend gigs. So
yes.
And I agree. I chose not to even I lost a weekend gig for the 14th, but I was bumped. I didn't lose it. I got bumped.
I have 2 weekend gigs. I have 2 gigs next week. One next weekend, but
and this is a gig.
Does that mean I won't be getting these like ridiculous texts in the middle of my gig where I have to like what? Oh wait, my pocket is vibrating. I have to see what this is about. Oh, it's just Steven or Ron or.
Yes, you will get that. In fact, when the wife and I drive to Kansas City again, when we go back to Kansas City on the 20th, there'll be a lot of those.
I will drive to Indianapolis or Indiana or wherever it is. I'm
going to Kansas City, Missouri.
Well, I'll go wherever you are to kill you. Is what I'm saying.
As long as I get to meet you first.
Break your phone, and just
take a picture first and post it, then break the phone.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. So I don't know. The author we're going to meet in the second hour here today. He was where was he born? Somewhere Michigan, but then he went to. It says he went to Canada in the 60s. He moved to Canada in the 60s.
Was he a draft dodger?
That's exactly where I was going. Like this is my the only people from America who were going to Canada or moving to Canada in the 60s, unless this guy tells us different. Don Sawyer, mean pride. Were draft dodgers, right? That was the only reason to go to Canada in the 60s. It still is the only reason to go to Canada. Like, why would anybody go to Canada?
The only reason I can think of.
Well, that either he was a draft dodger or he was going to recruit draft dodgers. He was going to say, "Look, guys, come on back. It's safe to come back now." Like he worked for the government and was lying to them. And he go up and said, "Look, come on back."
And then he decided, no, it's really nice up here. I'll just stay for the rest of my life, for the next 60 years or so.
It's nice up here, eh?
Yeah. I don't think it's nice up there. It's cold
now,
as fuck.
Live with meter and no measure.
That's
there's
Becky.
one. There's one reason.
There's one. Oh, okay. Hi, Becky. You're having technical issues. Are they still annoying? I don't understand. Your TV crashed.
Well, he's figuring that out. There's one thing in Canada that they have that I do like.
Bacon.
Well, that's ham.
Maple syrup.
No, but on their equivalent of 4th of July, Canada Day, all the dispensaries give out free weed.
Is it on the 4th of July or is it another day of the year?
It's whatever their equivalent of that day is, Canada Day or whatever.
Who pay now? There's no such thing as free. Who pays for that? The dispensaries
it's
pay for that on their own.
It's a government thing, yeah. But yeah,
The
I have
government.
my buddy lives up there, and on Canada Day, and he sent me a
Get
picture.
him on the
He
phone
goes,
right now. We wanted to hear this. Anybody from Canada. You know what? We'll ask Don when he gets here if this is true. First of all,
hold on, I will message him right now.
America could not afford that.
Oh, they could. Oh,
no,
they
couldn't.
could.
No, they
with
couldn't.
If it was a nationally legal thing where every state that's legalized it now has like a surplus of money, they give the shit away all the time. It happens. Like in Michigan, the whole week I was up there in Michigan, every dispensary you go to, like if it's your first time, they give you a bunch of free stuff.
It's July 1st this year.
Yep, and he sent me a big picture. He sent me this picture, and he's like, "Look at all the free weed." I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I send people pictures like that all the time. Like, look at all this money I have, but it's not my money. It's a picture I took off the internet. So I don't know. I just the amount of money it would cost to give everybody who wanted free weed in America. Just astronomical. You could feed the hungry you could feed all the starving people in the world with the money that would cost.
Except for the fact that with all that we'd have the munchies and there wouldn't be any food to send to those starving people.
Exactly.
Facts. 1000%. But I
might as well smoke the food.
I messaged him and we'll see what happens. But it's he's like the third person I've heard about it from. So I hope it's a real thing.
Let's Google it. Google it. I can't Google it because I can't Google. Free weed
on Canada Day.
Look at the one finger typer. Free weed in Canada. Free eighth buy weed online in Canada. Wow. If you go, wow. Buy weed online, but will they ship to America? They'll get your free eighth. Wow, you could just get a free eighth.
That's what I'm saying. They just give away weed like crazy up there.
No, it's just this is when you buy. This is an ad.
But
Authorized cannabis. What is it? Canada Day. What is it called?
Canada Day. Well, Canada Day. You can look it up by Canada Day. It was July 1st this year. I don't know what the official name is. Cannabis. It's called Cannabis Day.
Cannabis Day.
Or Cannabis Day.
Celebrate Canada Day with free Keef giveaway.
Keef giveaways?
Keef. Kief. I don't know.
Okay.
It's like Keith Richards. Canada company offering free weed for a year legally. Wow.
National Day of Canada.
Canada Day sale. Buy weed online. Don't forget Cannabis Day on Canada Day. A daily deal. Every order placed on Canada Day will receive a free eighth. So you get a free eighth. No, this is what it's saying. Every order on Canada Day will receive a free eighth. That's not like
those are online deals, but I imagine going in person probably.
Well, if it were free, no, this is not. This is actually a store, a walk-in store, and it says every order you go placed in the store, they'll give you a free eighth. If it were free, they wouldn't say you have. See, this was the thing I wanted to rant on. This idea of free gift when no. A gift should never. A gift is always free. If you have to say free, then that implies that I have to buy something to get this free gift. A gift is always free. You don't have to market a gift. You don't have to say free. That's what I'm saying.
Agreed. No, I 100% agree. It's like saying ATM machine. You're saying machine twice.
I think your friend was lying to you. I don't think you were lying.
No, if somebody gives you a gift card, I
messaged him, so I'll see what he says. He might be working.
No, don't message him. Go there and shoot him in the dick.
Oh my God. I can't go to Canada and commit a felony then come home.
I don't think it's a felony in Canada. I believe it's part of it. It depends on what
you probably just have to give like a really nice apology and like a nice letter.
In Canada, that would be considered like a hazing ritual, I think.
Yeah. All right, it's time for the news. Here's the news.
I did not know Pamela Anderson was actually a Canadian. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I just learned that just now.
Okay.
I'll probably forget about it. I'll forget in a couple of minutes, and then I'll go. I didn't know that
what?
Pamela Anderson was a Canadian.
I'm sorry. What were you gonna forget?
That Pamela Anderson was a Canadian.
I forgot. All right. It's time for the news. Here it goes. Here's the news. That's it. That was the news, ladies and gentlemen. Anything stick out? No, any of those stories you want to comment on?
Yeah, pretty much all of them.
Now, was that sound of the actual bombing in Russia, or is that an AI generated?
It wasn't a bombing. It was a well, maybe it was a bombing, a missile or something, right? I guess you can call that a bombing.
Well, if they're dropping bombs, I consider it a bombing. If they're dropping leaflets, I consider it a leafing. If they're dropping prices,
you drop a bomb is different than sending a missile, right?
I'm just saying, if it's a
missile,
dropping,
I feel like dropping a bomb.
Universal hand signs for bomb and missile.
Well,
I think one of those is a universal sign for fingering someone.
Yeah.
I would not use this finger.
Okay, I'll do these. I'll use these two so I can get a second opinion right away.
Oh, Matt, don't be one of those 70s porn guys. That's all like, yeah, that's weird. Don't do that.
How do you finger? You use a ring finger. That's
There's this. I mean,
okay, for those of you watching
on doesn't go in, the thumb presses the button.
No, this is Peter Piper's.
Oh my God,
Peter Piper.
For those of you who are only listening and not watching, to get these hand gestures, you have to go to Gallaudet College and take their sign language course, so you can learn all of the signs that are used for fingering people. That's
you know what? I don't know if this person's talking about the fingering, but I agree. It's not a gift; it's an incentive. So,
right. But don't you? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one on the planet who gets inundated with emails that say "free gift" when you buy. What free gift when you buy? What the? No, like, can you imagine every Christmas people say, "Well, I got you that, but first you got to buy I don't know, a new house in Rio Rancho or some property in Rio." A free. There's no. Cut out the word free and just use the word gift, and cut out the buying part of it, because that's not.
And just cut out the T and just give them a picture on the computer.
A free gift.
Yeah.
So now, this being Labor Day in the United States of America,
yes.
Do you guys honor the day, and if so, how do you do it? With a barbecue?
I celebrate all the babies that were born with rattles. I give them all little rattles.
You're confused about the meaning of the day. I
don't think so.
I think
you're talking about 4th of July, right? You asked how do you celebrate it, so I was making sure you meant 4th of July. So we usually go out on the boat and then like a barbecue and everything.
In Indiana, there's boats.
We have lakes.
Yeah, there's no water. There's no water, so they all sit out in the yard.
We just drink corn juice. It's just corn juice everywhere.
Yeah, it's like the Sahara, Indiana.
It's really weird. Like you'll just be going along cornfields, soybean fields, and then boom, massive lake for no reason.
Now,
it's all over the place.
I'm just trying to think. My geography is terrible. You know my geography is terrible, right? You know that.
Yeah, I know your geography is garbage.
What? There's no Great Lakes that touch Indiana on any.
Yes, Lake Michigan does.
Michigan?
Lake Michigan.
Okay. Well, that's a big one, right?
That's a big one.
It's one of the superior ones.
It's not a superior one. It's
Lake Superior is the superior one.
I think it's a little eerie.
It's less creepy than eerie. But it's Lake Michigan does, but within Indiana, there's several really decent sized lakes, and then a bunch of smaller like pond type lakes.
So do you have you been on Lake Michigan, or you take your boat?
Oh, yeah.
You have a boat?
No, I don't have a boat, but I've been out on Lake Michigan. I've gone fishing out there, and
he has to say he doesn't have a boat because he's getting government checks.
No, I would absolutely brag and tout if I had a boat, but I do not have a boat.
Wait, I'm trying to government. You could have a boat and still get government checks.
I don't think so. I think when you sign it, I think when you
there are this island that I am on is full of people that are getting, not full, but there's quite a few million scammers getting government checks who have boats.
Oh, there must be some of the good ones doing that then.
They're the smart ones.
Uh-oh. DD, did you just eat a hot pepper? Are you embarrassed?
No. I have no idea what happened.
You're flushing.
I know. I didn't touch anything. You know what I did?
Well, you know what it is.
I took my face off of camera, and when I came back, it was like this.
All right,
which means,
stay red.
I think so DD got nervous because you know what happens when his people hear about boats.
Yeah, see, this is the default. I moved away from the camera, and it adjusted.
So coming back to this Labor Day thing, are you guys because you're both able-bodied,
right.
You should be working. The two of you should be working.
Technically, I'm not able-bodied.
What do you mean?
Technically, I am not either.
You are. Yeah. Do your fingers work? You can work from home on your little keyboard there. You should not be collecting money off money that I pay to my government to pay for you to just like go out on boats and like.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah. And what else are you doing? You're I don't know. You're on porn sites. You have porn site memberships, right?
No, because Indiana just backtracked on their porn thing, kind of. So now you have to like verify with an ID that you're 18.
And you're not 18?
I mean, I am, but you think I want to leave that kind of trail that I'm on these sites, put my ID in there? No.
Because then the free money, the free government cheese will stop coming?
No, well, I'll stop coming.
Don't you have any guilt about defrauding people like me out of my hard-earned money?
I would say yes, but the feeling stops right above my knees, so I don't care.
Right. I guess since there's no news today, I have a problem with this. I'm going to have to talk to Al about this. Well, even though I did say this was his last month, maybe he heard that. But we can't have a day without news. It's not like
did it expire because this is the first of the month? Did it expire September 1st?
No. The service is not delivering news on Labor Day because it's a holiday for them. When the news guys get a freaking day off, news guys should not get a day off. News never stops happening.
Yeah, the world just paused because it's Labor Day.
So yeah, no, I don't. You know what? So that proves they're, I guess, American because most people who they didn't want to schedule today because it was Labor Day here in America. Now our guest is here. He is from America, but now is a Canadian Canuck. And I'm just
I don't think you can say that.
Huh?
I don't think you can say Canuck. I think that's like a slur to Canadians.
Yeah.
Canuck? No, there's a team.
He can say Canuck. You can't say Canuck.
There's a team that calls Canuck.
He can walk up to one of his friends and go, "Hey, my Canuck," and get away with it. But you can't do that. That's a slur.
Who is the Canucks? There's a one of the hockey.
Is there a team?
Yeah, but what
Canucks?
city? What city are they?
Is it Toronto?
Toronto? No, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay, Edmonton.
Could it be Edmonton?
No, Edmonton. Edmonton. The
Oilers.
Okay.
Edmonton and Oilers. Montreal Canadiens. Winnipeg Canucks.
Toronto Canucks.
I don't know. We'll get to the bottom of it. Anyway, I guess it's here now.
There's a way we could look it up.
I wish there was some way to look.
He's holding up a piece of paper right now.
Don, just so you know, you're holding up a piece of paper, but the way your camera is set up, we can only see things
top of your head.
It's the Vancouver. It's the Vancouver Canucks.
Vancouver. Wow, that's like not even Canada. That's like
that. Yes, it is.
Now Vancouver is Alaska Light. Vancouver is Alaska Light.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, there are plenty of comedians from British Columbia who joke about how, you know, not even real Canadians. I don't know. I don't know.
We were in Canada. I think we were in British Columbia, but I'm trying to think what part it is. And we could see, I think it's Seattle from where we were. It's like you could look across the
You could
water and see.
addle. You could addle.
Right, you could
Flat-
see Addle.
Flat
You could
Earth
see
confirmed.
Addle.
You could see Atlanta.
No, you could
That's
see
Flat Earth
Addle.
confirmed. Illuminati confirmed.
All right, let me get after you. Let's introduce the guest. Today's Don Sawyer, is a writer,
Mean Pride.
educator, grew up in Michigan and moved to Canada in the 1960s, which suggests he might be a draft
Dodger.
Listen,
Yeah.
I don't judge. I would have probably gone to Canada too, but that's the suggestion here. 1960s American going to Canada. I mean, what else? Don has worked with the youth and adults from many cultural backgrounds in every variety of locales. A world opportunity and experience opened up after he left a PhD program. Am I speaking correctly? In
He'll let you
modern
know. He can see he's
Chinese
soaking it in. He's
in
listening
modern-
to you like this. He's going.
You're
like this, going,
interrupting me very rudely.
GD, go to your room.
In modern Chinese history, which is, that's a pretty heady subject, modern Chinese history. Do you guys know about modern Chinese history? Anyway, he's the author of a book, The Burning Gem, which is out now since, I think, May. Let's welcome in Don Sawyer. Today's Don Sawyer, Mean Pride. Good morning, Don.
Hi, guys. I'll try to get into the spirit of things here best I can.
All right. Well, you know what?
We do need a few corrections. You're all right about Vancouver. It's sort of an extension of the West Coast, kind of California north. But you must have been, GD, you must have been like in Victoria, looking across.
I think so.
The shimmering nation on. Yeah,
I was in Victoria once. She was wonderful.
It's a beautiful city. It really is. And let me just put this let's just get this out of the way. You're right, I grew up in Michigan, and you're right, I came up to Canada in the 60s, which all I'm going to say is it sure seemed like a good idea at the time. And I haven't regretted it since. Okay, that's all. I did go to UBC.
Now, are you now? Have you ever been a communist? Ian wants to know.
You mean like small C or big? Nobody's a big C anymore, are they?
Oh. Ian with the.
He was just wondering because you went to Canada during the 60s.
Keep in mind his moniker is evil. So I mean,
I will say this: I was in Chicago in 1968 during the first Chicago National Democratic Convention. It was a lot less civil than this last one. Let me tell you.
Yeah, this one was pretty much a party, right?
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, compared to that one. But there are a lot of other comparisons to 1968 going on. But and I think for one, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, was expecting like protests that got a little bit out of hand, because there are part of the Democrat. There is a little bit of a divide in there about the position on the Middle East and all that stuff. And I thought those protests. And I don't know if there really is, or they just want them to be more vocal. Some people just want the party to be more vocal about it. And the party is saying, let's wait till after the election and then we'll touch that hot potato.
That was my reading. Let's emphasize on 50s Nebraska, and neighborhood ethics this go round. We won't worry about global issues. And, that's kind of those are downers. We don't want to talk about downers. But in 1968, those of us who had a conscience showed up in Chicago and said, "This isn't right. Time to stop this shit."
Right. Now I put up the cover of The Burning Gem.
Thank you.
The book that you have out now. You're an author of many books. You're very prolific, though, right?
Absolutely, just incredibly prolific. Just one right after another. One bestseller. No, I mean,
one bestseller.
I got a long career. I mean, obviously, I'm not a young guy, but I've actually my writing has been kind of an ancillary activity, which is a damn good thing because I sure couldn't have made a living off of it. But basically, I've been an educator who writes.
This idea of, because you're not alone in saying that, it's not something I could make a living off of. I feel like that is very detrimental to the future of humanity, and because culture is really important. Writing, the arts are really important to maintaining our humanity. And if people cannot sustain themselves by their art, I think it definitely diminishes the incentive to create art, and it pushes great art to the side. And I think it's very detrimental to the future of humanity. What are your thoughts on that?
Well put. I must say, in Canada, we have some supports for writers here that the Americans don't have. And we have something called the Canada Council that supports writers. It's a bit of a different situation. One thing that's kind of neat is we have something called the Public Lending Right Commission. And if your book gets into a library, every year they take a sample of 10 libraries. And if your book is in one of those libraries, you get a hit. And then you get like $40 for every time that book appears in a library. And then you get compensated for that. The thinking is that if somebody's checking a book out of the library, they're not buying it. But you know, it's an indirect subsidy to Canadian authors, and for many of us, it's really appreciated. But you know what you say is so true, and you've seen the figures that only 50% of Americans read a book last year, right? Other than a handbook, and so fiction, you know, and then if you read 5 books last year, I think that puts you in the top 10 or 15%. So you know, reading is not, and then at the same time, reading seems to be on the decline. There were between 3 and 4 million books published last year. So there's this kind of crazy dichotomy. And so the whole field is getting flooded. I mean, partially that, largely, because 2/3 of those books are self-published. It's because the publishing industry has changed so dramatically. But what you're saying is right. And when I write, I try to write for a reason. I try to write for a purpose. I mean, sometimes it's just fun, but sometimes it's to try to make a point. In this particular case, The Burning Gym, it's an urban fantasy, and a lot of it takes place underneath in the New York subway system, in this utopian community in this abandoned subway station. And so there's a lot of magic and stuff going on. But the arc of the story is that there's somebody out there who wants to keep us from coming together, working as a team, you know, team humanity, and solving problems that are existential. And they're using everything they've got to push that tribalism. And one of those is magic and these gems that crystallize part of people's souls, and who land in the hands of influencers and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Now, evil entity. This comes back to a question that I ask a lot of people, and some people get bored with hearing that same question over and over again. But it's one I've been intrigued by, and it's the nature of good and evil. Do you believe that there are external forces such as good and evil, or is it something that humans bring? Like, if human beings weren't on the planet, would there still be good and evil?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think other animals are working on that sort of ethical or moral plane. I think we've evolved a lot physically as sort of sophisticated tool makers, but I think in terms of our evolution in morality and ethics, we haven't come very far. And so we stay in these sort of tribal enclaves. And more, we're seeing that that's probably, at least in part, hereditary. And so that, the distrust of the other, which, over a 1.8 million year evolution might have made sense at one point. Like, for example, if, you're a million years ago and you see a bunch of strangers coming and you say, oh, look, new friends, let's have them over for dinner. Well, that group's probably not in the gene pool anymore, right? So what we got, I think, is we're working against some instincts that have evolved over a long time in a very, very different world, and it's utterly dysfunctional in this particular world. So, I mean, I don't like, for example, this book in part draws on Nietzsche, some of Nietzsche's ideas. Nietzsche's the Ubermensch guy and all that. Hitler's favorite social philosopher. And Nietzsche wrote a book called Beyond Good and Evil. And his whole idea in that book was that there's people meant to rule. There's this sort of, ruling class, the Ubermensch, and then there's the slaves, the people that are supposed to just sort of accept their obeisance to these overlords. And so, and of course, those overlords, because they're so superior, can just do any fucking thing they want, right? They don't, and they have no accountability. So there's the slave mentality and the master mentality. Now, to me, that's pretty evil,
now,
as a concept.
Okay, so my question is then, because in the animal kingdom, they do things like steal, they do things like murder and kill. So is it because they don't have our mental capacity that it's not considered evil? Because it's the same task. It's the same thing. If I went and stole my neighbor's bananas and him went ahead and took his bananas, okay, that's pretty bad and it's theft. But if I were an ape and I went next door to another ape and hit him with a stick and took his bananas, it's just business as usual.
Well, let me ask you that. I mean, would within the ape community, the ape society, would that be seen as outside of acceptable behavior, or would it be seen as wrong? You see, there's
depends on if you're the ape getting clobbered with the stick, or if you're the ape with the stick.
I don't know.
Which end of the stick you're on? That's right.
Yeah, because if you're the ape on the short end of the stick, you go like, "Hey, you stole my bananas. I worked all day for this. What's wrong with you?"
That's the crux. The idea of the question that I'm getting to is because if good and evil is a construct of our own minds, that then really that's saying that there really is no such thing as good and evil. It's what we put on it, and I hate to think of that.
His argument, and he says that there is no good and evil, and so as of course he saw himself as part of the aristoi, the elite, naturally. We can make any rules we want, and good and evil couldn't apply because those are abstract concepts that we don't have to really abide by. But back to JD's point, I mean, I think is at any point does anybody in that community say what that guy did is wrong? That baboon or that ape, or I mean, when we know that like you have the whole hierarchy, social hierarchy. It's not that we don't have hierarchies, but if somebody tries to break into that hierarchy, well, they're going to get turned on, maybe killed. Is that evil? Is that wrong? I don't think so. I mean, it's an instinct, and it's sort of part of their inborn impulses. But I think we have the capacity to think at a higher level where we can actually weigh consequences of our actions and understand the consequences of those actions as how they affect others. The old golden rule thing, and so that to me, and if you look at every single, I don't want to get into this too much, but every single religion has something about the golden rule: do unto others as you have them do unto you. We don't follow it yet, but we've all got the basic idea. And we kind of got that down. That's kind of a fundamental, but I'm not sure that you would find that in sort of other primate societies.
Yeah, because last week we had a counterterrorism expert on the show, and the first question I had to ask him was define terrorism, and he really couldn't. He could give me his personal view of what terrorism. He gave me kind of like the pornography description. I know it when I see it, type of. And I was like, well, in my view, terrorism just means the guy who is overwhelmed and has no other way of defending himself than to use non-traditional defenses and those kind of things. Because if you were overwhelmed by a force that just came into your home to try to really have their way with you, you'd be left to, how can I resist this? What are resources do I have? And that would be labeled as terrorism by those people who are trying to subjugate you. And so this whole thing of good and evil makes me wonder about that. Would that still be good and evil if I'm just trying? And I had my first college roommate when he went home for Christmas break one time, and somebody exposed him to Nietzsche, and he came back with all these ideas that you're talking about, master and slave and all that stuff, and inundated me with that, and it's stuck with me ever since. Like, is it evil, or is it just self-preservation if you're not the self, you're the other person that looks like evil, right? It's how we perceive it.
And we demonize people, right? Who we see as threats, and that justifies all kinds of ornery behavior in regard to them. I think to your point about terrorism, the old saying, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. And
right.
These things are very difficult to define. I mean, we're talking about pretty nuanced concepts. And of course, then they become used politically, right? Again, to demonize. I mean, these guys are terrorists. Oh, well, then just bomb the shit out of them. That means that all, no holds barred now. So,
right.
that's a pretty effective tool. We do all kinds of things to dehumanize the people that we want to destroy. And I do think that this is probably, I think that's at the essence of tribalism, which all that research that shows we're probably used to working in groups of no more than 160. And that's about as large a group as the brain can process as individuals. Once you get beyond that, you start to stereotype because you can't process all those people. So,
wow.
People who talk like you are good guys. People who don't talk to you are a potential danger, unless you've worked out some sort of an alliance and then you kind of trust them, but not really. I think those are fascinating concepts, and it's the kind of stuff I'm sort of wrestling with in The Burning Gym. And the sequel, which is coming out in May 2025, is called The Tunnels of Buddha, where they confront there's an engine under the ground, under the tunnels of Buddha. And if you've been to Budapest, you know what an interesting city it is. It just reeks of sort of mystery, and they've been overrun by every horde known to man, right? And so there's this kind of this tragedy, but there's also these ancient tunnels underneath that go right way back to Neolithic times. Inhabited.
I love this the concept here, but now correct me if I'm wrong. This book, and I'm not sure, is it geared towards young adults, like the YA audience, or is it not?
No, it's an adult fantasy, urban fantasy. I mean, I hope young people will pick it up, because I think I think it does have a crossover potential. But yeah, it's aimed at you. Yeah.
I'm concerned that young people are checking out of these kind of allegory type of let's look at the world as it is through a metaphor or something like that. I think they're checking out because they don't want to think about these things, and I don't think we can ever improve. And listen, I'm a pessimist. I don't think we're going to improve, but I don't think we can even have hope of improving or progressing as a people, as a culture, without really addressing these things and giving them some thought and stimulating conversation about it. And that's why I was interested in if there is a young adult audience, and do you hear from them in reviews and stuff and conversations about the book or the books?
First of all, I think those are really good points, and you're right. This is a bit of a metaphor. I mean, you don't have to have magic gems to use pretty powerful forces to keep people divided and to keep them from coming together. Talk about Labor Day. Yeah, that's kind of what Labor Day was all about, right? Unions, they remember those. And we do have Labor Day up here, but it's spelled Labour, so it's kind of Labor Day. But we do that anyway.
And that's how I spell it, Labour.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I've written YA books too, two YA novels, both of which have done fairly well. And I must say, I mean, those tend to be more straightforward in terms of plot, a little bit less sophisticated in terms of content, but you can still build into that essential moral and ethical questions that kids need to wrestle with, because I do believe that kids do wrestle with those issues. But I'm not sure that those kinds of discussions are encouraged in schools, classrooms. Too controversial. We want to talk about that. Somebody might get upset. Oh no. I think that's kind of the issue that we're wrestling with here. So, and I agree with you about metaphor. I mean, hopefully it's not heavy-handed metaphor. Hopefully it's an entertaining read. But in the reading, you start to think about, well, geez, look at what's going on there. How can we? That seems familiar somehow. I I can see the
Right. Well, that addresses this point because Becky says they haven't been taught to think in metaphors and allegories, and I don't think. I think it's just a matter of putting the metaphor or allegory out there, and then at some point they say, "Hey, this feels like what we're going through, what I'm going through right now, or what society is going through right now," rather than having to be taught. I don't think any of us are really taught to say, "Well, this is a metaphor. I have to pay attention here." It's wow, this feels true.
Feels true.
Why does it feel true? Because it's happening in my life, you know.
No, I think you're right. I mean, you don't want to hit people over the head with a hammer because they're not going to read anything. I mean, you think about something like Animal Farm. You know, that was a pretty effective, and everybody knew exactly the metaphor. Nobody had to spell it out in those days.
Right.
People wouldn't understand. Probably Stalinist Russia. You know, but that idea that everybody's equal, but some are more equal than others. So you start to struggle with, hey, gee, that, you know, come to think of it, we have a bit of that ourselves. You know, maybe it's not just. But I think you're right. That metaphor is a powerful tool. That's why it's been used in literature forever. But I don't know. I think you need to expose kids to metaphor. Have them read good metaphor and talk about it. So what do you guys take from this? You know, did you see any similarities in our own world? You know?
I met a 3 once. She was okay, but never met a 4.
Does this happen a lot?
I'm sorry. That's like a GD joke, and I should never ever.
I'm surprised you
met low
twice with jokes like that.
Matt keeps bad company. He keeps a lot of would-be comedians and humorists around, and
I call them wannabe comedians. Would-be is I don't know if they ever would. They want to. They don't would.
I want to join JD's church over there. I like the sound of that.
It's a good one. If you meet the Reverend, you might change your mind.
Oh, that
right? It's a good church. It's growing and following. He has like 2 or 3 followers right now. He's going to get to 3 in no time, up to 4.
Once he gets to 12, it's on.
He's not exactly the Joel Osteen that he wants to be.
Joel Osteen, but he's actually as gross as you think he is, and is actually out about it though.
Yeah, with Osteen they use terms like mega church. With Reverend Jelly Roll, it's more like mini church or minimal church. I don't know, mini church.
Fun with dildos.
The church, the better. I like
blessings and blasphemy. That's it.
Do you wear colanders on your head, Reverend?
Oh no! It's come as you are. So if you have a colander, you will not be kicked out. But on the other hand, if you don't have a colander, it's kind of like if you have a colander, take a colander. If you need a colander, leave a colander. No, if you have a colander, leave a colander. If you need a colander, take a colander.
It's a big tent church. I get it.
The biggest tent. Matter of fact, the more tent you can pitch, the better off you are.
Yeah, in fact, the Reverend will not let you in if you cannot pitch a tent. So
that was great. You were talking and your lips weren't moving. Your image was frozen up, and it was very weird. Speaking of weird, I have to ask you about this, Don. I read now in the synopsis of your book there is a suggestion about shapeshifters. And I'm curious. First of all, do any of these ideas do you lend any credence to them? Like, are there such things as shapeshifters?
Yeah, they call it Weight Watchers. Once you get down to like you start off at 400 pounds. Once you get down to like 250.
I was going to try to answer that seriously, but I can see that's a lot.
No, please do it. I could kill him at any moment.
It's just interesting because I've worked both in Native Indian communities a lot, and I've been through sweats and some pretty powerful experiences. I've worked in West Africa, worked with shamans. I think what I can say is I genuinely believe that there are kind of other realities out there that we haven't fully experienced and don't fully understand. I mean, of course, there's lots of. There was even an article when I was in Accra, Ghana, about a guy who was caught changing from human to lion form, and there was quite a bit of controversy about that. I mean, I wanted to see the pictures, right? But I didn't. So, I mean, there's certainly strong beliefs. I think that there's a lot of, I mean, there's some pretty amazing things that happen that we don't fully understand. I think that was my point. Not necessarily, I use shapeshifters because I think that was an image people could kind of latch onto. I also in the book tried to talk about when he's trying to explain that there's a world out there of people that you don't understand. He said, you know, have you ever seen a contortionist? And she said, yeah, I remember I see this woman on TV and she turned herself inside out. She did things that weren't humanly possible. And he said, exactly. You know, we can't explain these things, but they can do them. And so, you know, the world is larger than we understand. Humans are broader than we fully understand. So I'm gonna avoid answering that yes or no and just saying that the point is that there's humanity's a broad and rich tapestry of which we, I think, fully understand only a small part. And of course, that's limited by our own cultural and personal backgrounds too. What we believe in, what we see, what we don't see, all of those things. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, and I'm glad. I'm thrilled with that answer.
I lean towards possibly.
Eileen's not here.
Well, you're right. Well, we know why she's not here because she's cleaning off. But listen, I'm saying I think there's some credence to the possibility of, like, you know, the skinwalker thing, and you know,
well,
you can't have all these cultures all, you know, across the world with the same exact thing that they're seeing and say, okay, either they're emailing each other, you know, 10,000 years ago, or they were seeing something, right? So
the shapeshifter thing struck a chord with me because for about 5 years now, I've been trying to follow up. And just to preface this, I spent my whole life talking to people who have beliefs in things that I have never seen or experienced, and trying to keep an open mind towards it. And we'll come back to that. But the lead singer from Smashing Pumpkins said on Howard Stern that he had been in the presence of a music company executive who was a shapeshifter and saw him shift back into his lizard form, his reptilian form. And he said that in all seriousness, and nobody has ever followed up on that question with him. I haven't gotten a chance to talk to him. I've reached out to him in emails and stuff. You would think somebody would say, hey, let's talk a little bit more about that. Were you serious? Was that?
That's why you're not supposed to do acid and shrooms during a record contract meeting. You're having a meeting with an executive and they offer you something, you do not take it, okay? Do the meeting and then you smoke the weed or shoot, whatever it is, but do the meeting first.
I've seen some pretty convincing things, you know, obviously on the internet, so you have to take it all with a massive grain of salt. But you see some videos that are, you know, some older videos and things like that really would be hard to edit. And you see some things and it makes you go, wait a second. Then you have this lady on the plane, was it this year, who claimed she saw somebody shape-shifting on the plane, caused like a massive thing.
Right,
so,
yeah.
I mean, and that happened twice this year. There was two separate incidents where people were like, I saw somebody shape-shifting on the plane, I'm not riding on this plane. And so, again, I mean, you can call it drugs or psychosis, but again, it's a common thing that people witness and they report about over the years, from big Hollywood all the way down to just, like, you know, the tabloids. But hear about it. Gotta be something there.
So with writing about these kind of things, do you do any kind of real research into the belief system behind that kind of stuff, or you just do you do your like research into the belief system?
I mean, for example, the one young adult book I did, which was based on our experiences working in a small Aboriginal community in Fraser Canyon, British Columbia, called Where the Rivers Meet. I had a young woman who's in a school that's been, like the whole society, of course, has been crushed by, you know, colonial impact. But she finally goes to an elder to talk about, and she ends up going on a spirit quest. And I had read a lot about spirit quests that were done at adolescence. That was a rite of passage for many Native communities. And in these particular cultures, the Salish, interior Salish in this case, your experience was over when you started to be able to communicate with the animals around you. And I actually talked to a woman, an elder, because I wanted, when you're working in another culture, you damn well want to make sure you got you got it right. You don't want to, first of all, you don't want to expropriate voice, but you also want to make sure that what you do say is as accurate as it can be. I had 4 hours of interviews with her, which she was so generous to give me, that we focused largely on the spirit quest, because that was such a fascinating, and she talked about her aunt was one of the last women to actually go on one of these spirit quests. And she's had her own song. And that was another thing. A song comes to you. And she sang the song for me. She still remembered it from, and it was a Jay that she was able to speak to, who taught her this song. I mean, again, like Stephen says, is it psychosis? Is it, you're out in the bush for 3-4 months on your own, you start hearing things, or do you really start hearing things? Right. I don't know. But yes, I do some research. I mean, as I say, I used to go through sweats, which are very, if you've ever been through a real sweat, I don't know, some bullshit, but one that's really run by a native spiritual person, a shaman, they're very intense. I mean, of course, the heat is overpowering. It's absolutely dark. The whole idea is sort of like creating a womb. There's a kind of a glow in the middle, that's all there is. It's a very powerful experience because it's transcendent. You lose any sense of yourself. You're just kind of, you're just dissolved in this group. And there's 7 or 8, maybe 10 of you sitting in a circle, sort of shoulder to shoulder. And, except when you've got your head down in the ground to try to breathe, because otherwise you're suffocating. And it is quite a powerful experience. And you realize there's just stuff out there that we don't fully understand. And so, yeah, I try to bring some of that to my writing. I don't put absolutes out there, but I hope that I convey some of that magical experience.
Magical thinking. And this is because I mentioned I have spent really most of my life exploring a lot of these things. I've interviewed people who were claimed to be vampires. I interviewed people who claimed to come from other planets. I interviewed people who claimed to be on the USS Eldridge when time travel experiments were going on, and the soul melted and all this kind of weird kind of things. And the instinct is just to ridicule it. But on some level, if there's a profound experience that leads to better understanding of who we are and what this crazy ride of life is all about, then you can't just dismiss it outright. And one of the things that I was looking, because this morning without the news guys here, I was looking through my old content and saying, what could I share here? And I came upon Ron Moorhead, who is he writes about quantum Bigfoot. And my instinct with him is just to say, this guy's just fucking nuts. Quantum Bigfoot. He's saying the Bigfoot is not a missing link to our past, but a missing link to our future. It's what we're evolving into. He lives in parallel universes, and can shift between parallel universes. So when people try to get a picture of him and he's gone, he's just gone into a parallel universe.
That's handy.
Yeah.
That's
handy. Nope. Bigfoot is Cain from Cain and Abel. He was cursed to walk the earth for eternity and never die. That's why there's only one. He travels the world. That's what he is.
There was something went wrong,
buddy. I'm just kidding. That was the Nancy Grace thing.
Something went wrong when you tried to shave your head and look like me the other day. I think you need to go back to the barber and say, put the pieces that you took off.
What I need to do is I need to get.
Can you guys see that picture right there?
Looks like a black guy in a football helmet.
Yeah.
Let me. Yeah.
He was a shaman, and oh yeah, look, that you did a nice job of that. He was a shaman that I went to see in northern Ghana, and he actually, interestingly enough, people are pretty, kind of interdenominational up there. He was introduced to me by a Catholic priest, and so we went to his shrine. And it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And one of the things he did was he was going to read us. And so my friend and I were the only white guys for miles around. But he went into a trance, and he went into a trance. I mean, he went into a trance. I saw it. I know he did. And he had a translator who took what he said and then put it into words that we could understand, and told us things about ourselves. Okay, I mean, I don't know. Do you believe that? You not believe it? I mean, I just again think that it's there's so many different realities out there. So many different. I mean, this guy was the real deal. I don't know, and certainly if you were brought up in that environment, he would be really the real deal, right? I mean, that would be the belief system that you accepted and you embraced. I mean, I've talked to Chris and said, boy, if I was born in Saudi Arabia, I'd never be a Muslim. I'd be a Christian. I said, oh, come on, give your head a shake, I mean, we're brought up in these environments, and so we believe whatever mythology that comes with them. That identifies us as part of that tribe. That's the whole idea, right? Yeah, I believe this crazy shit just as much as you do. So we must be brothers. But
yeah,
but it's interesting, and I mean, I find that I'm really glad we got into this because the book can go in a lot of different directions. But that is one of the things I wanted to explore, is that whole idea that this is all going underneath our feet. You know that you remember, you guys all still probably, well, maybe not, but some of you might remember the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
When Rod Serling, you start to focus in, and it says we're about to enter the Twilight Zone, and then there's something perfectly normal, like a suburban street, and then you notice that the lawnmower is moving. There's nobody behind it. It's like this idea that wait a minute, we're moving into another world somehow, and brace yourself.
See, for me, my show was X-Files. And
Yeah.
I think that's why my interest probably leaned more towards the UFO UAP thing more than like the paranormal thing. But the
Thank you for
X-Files
bringing
was
that
a
up.
big thing that like led me into all of that, because I spent a lot of times in hospitals, have a lot of downtime, and there's a lot of that time that I spend just going down rabbit holes of UFOs and the paranormal and alternate dimensions. Some of it makes a lot of sense. Some of it makes you go, "This is fucking dumb and shit." But a lot of it's just super interesting, and like, how can you not just get lost in it? No,
Well, let me address that. Thank you for bringing that up, because I was thinking about this last night. Because, as I mentioned, again, I've done 40 years in radio and interviewing people with belief systems that don't necessarily align with mine. And I was thinking about the difference, because Serling has been a huge influence in my life. And the difference between me and people who approached it like Rod Serling did, in like, wow, this is something worth thinking about and trying to understand, versus the X-File community that grew up with a Mulder mentality, which is, I want to believe. I want to find proof that this is actually reality, rather than wanting to understand just the truth of what something is about. I think at some point in our culture, I'm talking North American culture here, because we'll include Canada and probably Mexico, but this system in our culture, we went from that Twilight Zone, like, wow, there are weird things out there that are worth exploring and thinking about, to, wow, there are weird things, and I'd really like them to be true, and how can I prove them to be true? And I think that's where we crossed the line with the X-Files. The Mulder mentality is what I was calling it last night. And there's a guy, Greg Bornstein, who wants to believe everything. He's a guy who does a podcast now on these kind of things, and he gets defensive if you bring up the point of what might be going on that is much more down to earth and grounded beliefs in humanity, rather than something magical.
I think that's almost as close-minded as just saying you don't believe it at all. Like you have to have that balance of wow, this is interesting. Let's explore all the possibilities, and you have to go from the very mundane, to the extraordinary. Because extraordinary claims, if you want to prove them, require extraordinary evidence. You're not going to have that evidence all the time, so you got to have that mindset of just exploring and thinking. Like, again, the UFO thing, I've been exploring that shit since I was 15 years old. Like, I am well versed in the UFO stuff, but I have to accept the possibility that 99% of that shit could be man-made stuff that we just can't recognize. That's why they're unidentified, you know? So you have to have that balance.
Right.
I'd love to believe it all, but you can't.
So, Don, is The Burning Gem the first book that you've explored any of these kind of ideas in, or do all your books kind of touch on something?
No, this is quite a shift in genre for me. I've always been a fantasy fan, but this is the first one that I've written. As I say, there's a sequel that's written now that takes it out to another sort of doing a little bit farther, quite a bit farther, and then there's a third one that I'm working on, because I've become quite immersed in these worlds. You build worlds, right, when you write this stuff, and hopefully they're worlds that people inhabit with you if you do a good job. I mean, someone like Ursula Le Guin, what I think is one of the finest writers America's ever produced. Those worlds are worlds that you're there, absolutely there, 100%. So these worlds are now, and the characters, I think, that are quite fascinating characters individually and collectively, are moving on in the ongoing battle against evil. But I want to make the point that, I mean, I'm trying, like you said about being a pessimist. I mean, anybody that hasn't been asleep for the last 20 years has got to be somewhat pessimistic. But what I'm trying to do is also strike an optimistic note here too, because as I say, there's forces that are trying to keep us apart, trying to keep us from joining and finding our commonality. There's forces that want us to emphasize our differences and then kill each other over those differences rather than bring us together. But I do believe that there is that capacity. The guy I'm reading, he's a biologist, evolutionary biologist at the University of Toronto, and he talks about trying to get that break out of the tribe and create what he calls a meta tribe, the tribe of humanity, where we find the commonalities that link us together and bring us together. I mean, collectively. I mean, you see these guys, these individuals, these billionaires that we somehow, we ascribe all kinds of powers to that they just don't deserve. I mean, a lot of them are just lucky. There's all these supports that are behind it, these brilliant people that are working for them. It's like these guys individually, yeah, they're just people. But if we can bring all of our collective knowledge, collective wisdom, collective skills together, man, there's nothing we can't do. So in this particular book, both initially and in the second book, we find this collective coming together against all odds, a multicultural collective coming together and to find ways of stopping this, what seems like an inexorable march toward fascism. So that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah, let me say goodbye to Governor's Comedy Network. I'm not even sure if Tony's got a show today, but just in case he does, we're cutting off, Govs. You want to continue to follow us, go on Mind Dog TV or my YouTube channel or Rumble or wherever you're going to find us. But if you're on Govs,